Alright y'all, today is the day. We're going to be doing a full top end rebuild on a 2001 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4.0 engine. So even if you don't have a Jeep Grand Cherokee, this video still might apply to you if you have a Jeep Cherokee, a Jeep Wrangler with the 4.0 engine. This video is for you. So basically what happened is I have a cracked cylinder head. Someone overheated it before they sold it to me. That's why I got such a good deal on this beautiful Jeep. So anyways, I have a whole complete cylinder head with valves and springs from Clearwater. We got a beautiful Molly combination gasket here, which is for the headers and the intake manifold. I bought two head gaskets because I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use. Apparently this one is the severe duty one, and then this one is the Permatorque multi-layer steel one. I'm thinking I might use this one. I don't really like the looks of this one. We've got the thermostat housing gasket, throttle body gasket, O-rings for the fuel injectors, which I also have 4-hole fuel injectors that I'm waiting on that we're going to install, but I still might use these with that. We got our new valve cover gasket. So basically this is everything except for the valve seals, which I don't need because those came on the complete cylinder head. So I went ahead and bought everything separate because I wanted a couple different pieces. And let me show you the head bolts. And here we got the Victor Reigns head bolt set. I read that they can be reused once, and you know, I plan on keeping this Jeep for the next 5 to 10 years, so I want to do it right. All right, so we're getting to the final steps here. I'm making sure that my pistons are clean, and my block is all cleaned. I'm making sure the holes for the head bolts are clean and clear. I'm just going through a couple of them with this tap here. I can give you the size in case you need it and need to do this. A couple of the bolts were a little rusty on the holes, so what I do is I just, like, when I tap it, I'll just make sure it threads in nice and easy. Just trying to clean up the gunk on some of the pistons. I got to do a little better on that. And I'm going to do one final pass with alcohol on the sealing edge, and then we're going to get ready to throw in the head. All right, so let's go ahead and get on the head gasket. So it only goes one way, just one way, because here, let me show you. So one end has the holes, which is the front, and then one end has the holes, which is the back, as you can see over there. So here, let's test it. So obviously you can't put it on that way. You can't put it on that way, but you can put it on that way. All right, y'all, I got the cylinder head on. Next, I'm going to show you exactly how to install it. I'm going to show you the whole process, which bolts go where, which bolts get the thread sealer, how to torque them, which way to torque them in specifically, which torques, and all that. So let me get set up here and we'll get to securing this head. All right, so this is what I'm doing. I've got my bolt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dump it in there. Yes, that does seem excessive. Run the extra off like that. What I'm going to do is just kind of wipe it a little bit so that way oil is in the threads. And then I'm going to go here, thread it in, and just so you know, this whole side here is all bolts like this. So go ahead and do all these let's leave this one out for now because we're going to do that one last. Go ahead and fill all the holes with these bolts here. Okay guys, got my bolts here. Just got a little bit of oil on them. Not an excessive amount, but enough to just help the bolts go in there and to keep them from corroding. This here, number 2 on this side, gets the dowel style topped bolt, and that's where the valve cover gasket sits. It like mounts on here. So if you don't put this one here, the valve cover gasket will not sit properly on there. The third bolt on the passenger side starts with the regular headed bolts. So 1, 2, 3, and then after that, what we have is another dowel style pin bolt. Just gonna go ahead and dump a little oil on it. And like I said, the valve cover sits on these, so that needs to go in that spot. And then the very last one in the very back is just a regular old bolt. Okay, now that all your bolts are in, go ahead and just get them until they bottom out. Do not tighten them a bit. Just go ahead and get them till they bottom out, and then I'm going to show you what to do with this bolt next. You will also need some high temp thread sealant for the bolt that goes into the water jacket. I believe the official one on Mitchell, they tell you you need Loctite 592, but this crosses over to Loctite 592. It's basically the same exact thing. I could not find Loctite number 592 anywhere, so that's the part number. I've done my research. This stuff will work. All right, so on the official instructions on Mitchell 1, it says to coat the threads of bolt number 11. I did not put any oil on this one, so we're gonna do like they say. We're gonna coat the threads. And don't worry about, it's not like RTV where it's gonna like dry up really quick. You don't have to rush. This stuff actually takes a while to dry, but by the time we get everything done, it'll be time. So just make sure they're all filled. Hopefully this stuff is gonna wash off my hand. So next I'm gonna go ahead and thread this in, and we're gonna get to torquing these head bolts down. All right, let me show you what I got here. So this is the cylinder, not the cylinder number, the head bolt numbers there. This is the sequence. As you can see, I have it to where it's facing toward you, because the diagram they give you is like this, but it's a lot easier to read if you're looking at it head on. So if you need to press pause and take a screenshot, now's your chance. Go ahead and use this diagram, and as you can see, number 1 starts in the middle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there you go. And next I'm gonna pull up the official torque spec instructions. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and share this with you. This is instructions from Mitchell 1, as you can see, 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4.0. This will work on any year of this model, but let's go ahead and read through these and then we're going to do them. First step, tighten all bolts 1 through 14 to 22 foot-pounds. Next, tighten all bolts in sequence 1 through 14 to 45. Next, check them to make sure they're at 45. Next, tighten bolts 1 through 10 to 110 foot-pounds, and then do bolt 11 to 100 foot-pounds, and then do bolts 12 through 14 at 110 foot-pounds, in that order. So a number 11, the one we just put that special coating on right here, that's going to be a lower torque than the rest of them. Go ahead and take a screenshot if you want. There's the official instructions from Mitchell 1 on demand. Alright, so get your torque wrench and put that sucker to 20. Ooh, that's not good. Okay guys, here we go. Now, first step, bolt number 1 needs to be tightened to 22. Boom, 22. Number 2, 22. And then we're going to go down one here. Number 3, 22. Boom. Number 4. And then number 5, which is right here. Number 6, which is right across. So what I did was I have my other phone here, and I'm just looking at that. And then it's easier, you know, so I don't have to go back and forth. So 7, 8, and then I'm counting as I go so I don't lose track. 9, number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, that's the first pass. Now let's get ready for the second pass. I'm gonna have to switch torque wrenches because I made the mistake of having a torque wrench that didn't go lower than 22, so I had to go 20 miles to work, grab my other torque wrench. Anyways, next sequence, bolts number 1 through 14 to 45 foot-pounds. All right, get set up for that, and let's hit them all at 45 in sequence, 1 through 14. All right, 45 foot-pounds. Let's get to it. Bolt number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, next step. We're going to tighten bolts 1 through 10 to 110 foot-pounds or 149 Newton meters. Let's get to it. So, bolt number 1. There we go. Bolt number 2. There we go. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8, 9, and last but not least, number 10. Okay, next step. Next step is bolt number 11 at 100 foot-pounds or 135 newton meters. That's the bolt that we put the thread sealant on. That one is 100 foot-pounds. Let me double check, make sure I got it right at 100. Yeah, right at 100. Okay. I would also, make sure your torque wrench is checked or spec'd, because it wouldn't be good if you're over or under torquing them. This one's brand new, so hopefully it's good. Okay, next step. Bolts 12 through 14 back at 110. 110. All right. So 12 through 14. So 12 right here. 110. All right. 12. Number 13 in the back. Boom, boom. And last but not least, number 14. Boom. All right, guys. That should be it for the torquing process. Let me just check it one more time. I like to be very thorough, so I hope this thorough video will help you. 12 through 14, 110. Okay. Well, that's it for the torquing process. All right, guys. Next, we're gonna work on getting all of our push rods, rocker arms, and all that stuff in, and our thermostat. All right, y'all, here we go. So we're gonna start installing the push rods, these babies right here. I'm gonna put a bit of assembly lube on each one, and let's get these suckers in. Make sure you take your time putting these push rods in, and make sure when you put it down through the galleyway that it's actually sitting on the lifter. And I should have mentioned this before, but make sure all the holes in your push rods are free. So blow them out with compressed air and check them. And last but not least, push rod number 1. All right. Next, what we want to do is get the rocker arms on. So let's do that. All right, guys, let's go ahead and put assembly lube on all the push rods. I'm going to put a little bit on top of the valves because the rocker arms are going to have contact there. It's just going to help a little bit. And yeah, and then we can start putting on all our rocker arms. And just a heads up, some of these will be harder to put on than others due to where the cam is sitting at the time. So just keep that in mind. All right, now that all the rocker arms are on, we're going to torque them to 21 foot-pounds. All right, guys, torquing them 21 foot-pounds. And then double check. All right, y'all, it's time to get this valve cover on. So if your surface isn't clean, I would recommend to go ahead and get that sucker clean. This, to me, in my opinion, is the best stuff to use. Scotch-Brite pad. Just go hit that sucker lightly. Luckily enough, these valve cover surfaces aren't as hard as the head gasket surfaces to clean. So that's always a plus, but go ahead, once it's clean, get your isopropyl alcohol, a nice rag, and then just go around, hit that surface, make sure there's no residue, because we want a nice, perfect seal that's going to last for years and years with no oil leaks. That's what we want. Try to do work so it lasts. Hopefully. All right, let me get this cleaned up and we'll get the valve cover sealed. Just for some extra insurance, I'm just gonna fill the top of these rocker arms up. I know when I pour oil in here that they'll get on, but why not, right? All right, next, let's go ahead and set our valve cover gasket on. As you see, the holes here and the hole here go on the stud there and there, like I showed you in the video. So go ahead and set it down. And it's gonna line up. Boom, look at that. All right, next I'm gonna grab the valve cover and I'm gonna show you where all the bolts go. Let me go ahead and give you a mental note of where all the bolts are placed and where the studs and just the regular bolts go. So as you can see, it's mostly studs on this side with 2 bolts in the front, 2 regular bolts in the front, all regular bolts up until the end. There's 2 studs here and then a regular one all the way in the back. All right, so the bolts on this valve cover are 7/16 right there. So go ahead and just get them snug down. Do not tighten them, just get them snug down. And then I'll tell you what to do next. Okay guys, so the way that I've always done this, and you know, this has been half a dozen times and I've never gotten any leaks, is I tighten these basically until they stop and then just a little bit more. I've never torqued them. I was told by my boss, who is a very wise mechanic in my opinion, that this style with these washers and rubber grommets underneath don't need to be torqued. All they need to do is just basically tighten them down until they stop. So that's what I'm gonna do here. So yep, let's go ahead and just get them torqued down. If you want to look up the torque spec, that's fine, but by design these don't need to be torqued. So, all right, guys, like I said, just tighten them until it stops. As simple as that. All right, and then don't forget to put your line holders back on. I got those two right there, so get those on. All right, next, let's go ahead and get this exhaust manifold gasket on. So you'll have a couple dowel pins, boom and boom. I have one stud in now, and then I'm gonna put the second stud in once I get this on. So that's how I'm gonna do it. Hopefully you can do it the same way. Okay guys, we're gonna get the intake manifold on. So a little trick I learned is get your manifold on, get your end studs lined up, one there you can't see, and then get these bolts and thread them in like one turn, boom 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 and boom. And then what you'll be able to do is slide the intake manifold over top of them, so that way you don't have to blindly put in each bolt, which makes this job like 100 times easier. So don't forget about your dowel pins right there and right there. Those are really important, because if you don't get those lined up and you go to tighten it down, your intake manifold will snap. So let me go ahead and show you how I'm going to do this. Okay, here we go. So get her down in there. The only issue I had getting it in was my AC line right here, but I am not removing it since I just replaced it and charged the AC. So there's going to be a little bit of finagling involved, but let's see. Okay, so now we are almost there. Make sure this is out of the way. Okay, so got it on. Next goal is to line up the dowel pins, and you'll know they're lined up if you sit flush like that. So here, let me show you. This is going to be just so much easier, and I'll also show you the torque sequence and the torque value. So when it sits flush like that, you know your dowel pins are lined up. All right, next, let's go ahead and get all our bolts in, and we'll get to tightening them up. And also don't forget to put grease on the bolts just in case they ever need to come back out. Okay, so I'm gonna put up a diagram on the screen, and it's gonna show you the torque sequence, and then I believe these are gonna be torqued down to 24 foot-pounds. I can double check that, but I think it's 24. So this is what I have, and I'll also pull it up on the screen again for you so that way it's clearer. But basically the first bolt, actually the third bolt on the bottom gets torqued first, and then the second bolt on the bottom gets torqued second. So go ahead and get those torqued, and we'll move on to 3 and 4. Okay, we are now torquing bolt number 1. It's kind of hard to get a torque wrench in here, but there we go. Boom. Got our first torque. Now we're going to move backwards towards the front to bolt number 2. So number 2 for reference point is like right where you see this Chrysler numbering. Boom. Just go straight up. It's like right there. Boom. Torqued. Okay, number 3 is, it's this one, which is going to be kind of hard to get a torque wrench on. So, oh, I can shorten it. Boom. Number 3. Now, number 4 appears to be the first main one on the bottom. So just take your time. You're going to have to get creative with some of the positions you got to get your torque wrench into, but it's just all part of it. Make sure you go and check all of them twice. Even if you get them tighter than the specified, I think I said 23 or 24 foot-pounds, that's fine. All right, so what I'm doing now is prepping my fuel rail because we're going to get ready to put the fuel injectors in. So let me show you how I'm doing this. Got my fuel injector. So the blue goes in the rail. I'm going to take it. I'm going to put a little bit of engine oil. Wipe off the excess. Make sure you take the thing and just get some oil in there so that way it'll slide in, and then it should just pop like that. And you got your clips. Suckers just pop right in like that, and then sometimes you got to wiggle it so it'll pop in place. All right, let's go ahead and get the rest of these done. Blue. We will have to oil the bottom ones, but we're going to hold off until we're ready. So I take it, wiggle it around in there until she pops in. Take my clip. Make sure both sides are popped in, and that's good. Alright guys, I got everything oiled, all the O-rings. So we're going to set her down here. Now, let's go ahead and lightly push in, and hopefully this cooperates. I'm gonna put my bolts on. Torque those if you want to do them to 8 foot-pounds. That's what the specified torque is. I think I'm going to start putting some of these PCV hoses on clips, and then we'll start putting the wiring harness into place. One thing I would highly suggest before putting on the thermostat housing is filling up the block, because if you're like me and you got every single dropout, you definitely don't want to start up the engine with the block completely empty. Like, I even took a suction hose and I got every single bit out possible. So I'm gonna at least make sure I fill up the block, so that way we don't damage anything right away. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thermostat on, so I'm gonna set that in there. I've got my housing here. I've got my gasket here. One side sticks, one side is just regular gasket material. So I'm going to go ahead and install that on my thermostat housing, and then we'll get to bolting it up. All right, and then once you got the gasket on, go ahead and put it on. Just lightly line everything up, you know. Don't go tight yet because we are going to torque it. All right, everything is finger tight. Now, the torque specs for this one are 13 foot-pounds, and you're done. All right, next I'm just getting my brackets on, a couple of my PCV hoses. You have this here, that plugs into there. You have this hose here that goes right there, and then you have this hose here that plugs in right there. Okay, now that all our intake hoses are plugged in, our bracket is hooked up with a 10mm. Let's go ahead and start pulling the wire harness over. All right, it's wiring harness time. The fun part. Figuring out where all this crap goes. Oops. So this wraps around the back here. One of the reasons I just love this engine is because it's just so straightforward and so simple. Like, boom. You don't have no complicated crevices or crazy V's, you know, just everything is right here. Freaking love it. It's just the best. I'm not even gonna lie. It is the best. Let's see, so that, I believe this goes under here. Right on top, like that. Okay. And then you have these that push down onto the head bolts to keep this rail here in place. Okay. That can go down on. Got my brackets here. Is the fact that this Jeep is lifted, so I literally have to stand on a 5-gallon bucket to do anything. It's kind of annoying, to be honest. And for the fuel rail line, this sucker goes on and you just push it like that, and then lock her into place. And that'll do that. A lot harder to get off. Okay, so we're gonna do a new throttle body gasket, obviously, and right here. So let's go ahead and rip this sucker open and set down the gasket, and then we'll put the throttle body in place. Nice and clean. And then those are 4 10mm bolts. Okay guys, next we got a bunch of plugs here. These are easy to figure out because they're right in their places. So go ahead and hook those up. We have all our connections here. So that sucker goes there. That one goes there. And then this one pops right on. Listen. Boom. Love that. Alright, we got a couple more plugs here. One goes there. And one goes there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put my new PCV valve grommets in. It's a lot easier to do this while it's in, because installing it with these on the valve cover are just so difficult. So that's why I do it like that. A little bit of grease. And she's in there. Okay, these brackets go on like that, and they hold the sensor. They have this little plug there, and then this goes on that end right there, and then that sensor hooks right onto it also. Okay, now that we're mostly done with this side, besides the air box and a couple oxygen sensor plugs down there, which I'm gonna save for last. Next, let's start getting this side together. Alright, what I'm gonna do next is get these plugs in. I just cleaned them. They were recently replaced before, so I didn't really see it necessary to replace, but alright, let's get these in here, get them nice and tight, and then I guess we can get the ignition coil rail on. Alright, as you can see, the ignition coil rail is on. Now we're just going to tighten it up with a 1/2-inch socket, and there are 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Easy peasy. Alright, so I would go ahead, get your block sensor hooked up there. Anything else you took loose. Change your oil filter if you're doing your oil, which you might as well if you've done all this work. And then next we will start putting on this alternator and bracket. Okay guys, we got the alternator bracket here, which is held in by 4 bolts. We're going to go ahead and remove those. Okay guys, just go ahead and get these bolts tightened down. This is a 9/16 bolt head. As you can see, I painted mine up. Looks pretty nice. Pretty happy about it. there's one bolt hidden down here. All right, let's go ahead and put on our tensioner. Easy, easy peasy. One bolt, which is a T40. And just go ahead and just tighten it up until it's snug. All right, guys, I'm just gonna put some lube in that hole. Put some lube on the alternator mounting nut hole, and let's go ahead and slide her right on. Oops. Sometimes they are a little tricky to get on and off. Nice. And then you might need a rubber mallet to just knock it in place. Long bolt goes on the bottom. All right, go ahead and get your alternator plug like that. And then you just have your power lead. And that'll be it for the alternator. And this one is a 1/2 inch. Put the cap on and we are done there. Yes. Also, don't forget your idler pulley. That one's really easy to do. In case you need the belt routing, there it is. You'll also need a 1/2 inch ratchet drive to put in that hole there. And the thing I love about Jeeps is they're just practical. Like, look at that. They give you the belt routing. I love the design of these Jeeps. They're just amazing. They're simple and they make sense. There you go. Okay, my dudes, next, let's go ahead and get the fan in. I'm only going to be doing a fan clutch. So, there's my fan, where it goes on right there on the water pump. This is my shroud. So yeah, let's go ahead and get those in, and then we'll be ready for startup almost. Yes, sir. It is about that time. Get that oil in. Crank this sucker up. Okay, guys, moment of truth. I got the radiator filled up as much as I can. I double checked everything, all the wires, plugs, hooked up the battery. I pulled the fuel pump relay. I pulled the injector relay, or the injector fuse and the fuel pump fuse. I made sure my grounds were hooked up. I got oil in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I missed anything, but I guess we'll find out here in a second. So let's get set up and we'll crank it over, get some oil circulating around the engine, and then we'll hook up the relay and fuses and get her started up. Okay, moment of truth, I guess. Let's crank it. All right, now that I cranked it over a little bit, I put the fuses back in. I'm just gonna prime the oil or fuel pump a few times. Because I have new injectors also. So that should help with the startup. All right, let's do it. Rockers are full of oil. All right, I guess let's do it again. Okay, here's the final result. She's been running. It did smoke a little bit at first, a little bit of like white steam. It kind of dissipated quite quickly, but I suspect that was all the coolant or condensation in the exhaust, because the exhaust did set open for a while and it did get quite a bit of coolant in the cylinders and I guess in the exhaust, so we'll see there. Pretty sure I got it bled quite well. My heat is like popping. That's where my temp gauge has been sitting. My oil pressure was around 60 when I started it, and then when I hit the gas, it'll rise. Here's my inside. Got her all cleaned up. I got new mats. I'm pretty happy with the way everything looks so far. I bought this mat here for the back. Got my tools. So yeah, I'm honestly still kind of on pins and needles. I haven't driven it yet, and I'm just pretty nervous all around because I've spent a lot of time and money working on this. A lot of time, more time than anything. Not a crazy amount of money, but I tried to do good quality work. You know, as you can see, as you watch the video, you saw how I took my time and tried to do everything the right way, but I guess we'll see how she operates. Anyways, I'm gonna end this series. This is the complete installation guide of a head gasket on a 99 through 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee. This also applies to 4.0 Jeep engines. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Like, comment, let me know what you think. I love hearing the input. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.